I don't know about you all, but sometimes I read a book and I think, man, this is great. This is wonderful. And sometimes I read a book and I'm like, this was just fine. This was, this was, it was fine. But it didn't pull me in. It didn't make me feel anything. It didn't make me connect or care. And I wonder, like, how do I make sure my book and how do you as authors make sure your book falls in that second category or falls in the first category, not the second category, pulls readers in, makes them excited, makes them connect with characters? How do we do that? How do we have a book that's more than just meh?
And we're the semi-sages of the pages, and we're going to talk about that with you. So we'll do introductions first. Who am I?
Teresa.
Thank goodness somebody knows.
Great. So that's Teresa.
I know this one. I know this one. A great way to have reader buy-in is also when they think they know what's happening, right, Teresa?
Right. Yes. Yes.
And I'm Morgan. I do know who I am.
Thank goodness. One of us does.
Yeah. And you can I'll just be a mystery.
Oh, I like it.
Also, another good way to keep the reader turning the page.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 ways to make sure that people think our story is great. Where do we start? Way number 1.
So the first thing is a compelling character. So that means a character or characters that you love or you hate, but you are rooting for. You want them to succeed or you want them to fail. You are feeling something for them.
They're interesting in some way.
Exactly. All right. What's number 2?
The second thing you need is you need a compelling plot. You need something to happen in your book. You need to have your character, that Teresa said, they can't just get what they want right away. They have to have some sort of struggle, strife. There has to be some sort of stakes involved, some sort of ramifications if things go wrong. Yeah, you have to have some sort of arc that happens in a plot that, pushes your reader through your book. And Morgan, I think this is where people go wrong, is step 3.
Thing number 3. Yeah. Well, Dr. Seuss only wrote thing 1 and 2. And so now we've got to get to thing 3. So I think it's really important because it's debatable whether Dr. Seuss pulled this off or not. But now we've got to take our compelling character and our compelling plot and put them together. And too often this happens too late in the writing process, and it causes deep issues and beats, and it causes readers to say, nah, or it's okay, but I just didn't feel it. And what we have to remember is that we're animals, and I'm sorry to tell you this, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but your brain makes a lot of your decisions. And the way your brain makes decisions, I know, shocking. I'm sorry. I just told you something that might hurt you a little, but it's true.
I'm glad it's my brain and not, other
parts
things.
Of you.
Well, I mean, it depends on, never mind.
Anyway, so our brain makes our decisions.
Sorry, romance writer.
Tell us.
And as much as we'd like to say they're rational, I think we've just demonstrated for our audience that they're not. We know from brain science that emotion is what compels us. You know that when you clicked on this thumbnail, you know that for how long you're watching, and your readers are no different. When they invest in our novel, we ask them to spend more time with us. We ask them to become intimately involved in our characters. And to do that, we need to make our characters relatable. So I want to tell you a secret about advertising. They filmed, I can't remember the exact study, but I used to teach it in economics all the time. They filmed people on the side of the street who were demonstrating cooking products. And they had, you've probably heard this before, right? They had one of them give a perfect product display the entire time, demonstrate it, and then hand out free samples. And then they had one deliberately spill. Halfway through, she deliberately spilled water, got it on herself, was all embarrassed, and then they replicated this over and over and over. And who sells more cooking appliances? The one who spills on herself or the one who's flawless?
The one who spills on herself.
Sorry, AI, we've got a check for you. We have a built-in system of seeing, oh, we can do that well, or, oh, I see myself in that. And it creates moments for laughter and humanity. And too often when we're writing our compelling characters, we forget that those very flaws, the times they spill water on themselves, the times they can't forget, the strength that's also a weakness is exactly what we need to be using to push the plot forward. And it's that simple. You see a scene, it's kind of dead. You go, okay, what's my character doing in this scene? What kind of humanity, human foible can I give them? And how will that push the plot forward? And instantly you start creating connection. And when you create connection, authors click.
Exactly. Go ahead.
One thing that I find sometimes in books is characters make decisions that are not necessarily the decision you think that the character should be making based on who they are throughout the whole book. They're clearly just making the decision that fits the plot that the author needs to happen.
Right.
Right. So that is a danger here, right? If that happens, then you as an author, you've made a misstep. You've done something wrong. Like your character needs to be different, so they make that decision differently, or maybe your plot needs to be different so that it makes sense for what challenges your character in a way that makes sense. Right? Because then you have disconnect with your reader. They don't believe you anymore.
Exactly. Unfortunately, human beings, we tend not to use logic when we're making decisions. And if you as the author are doing your job and you are putting your character or characters in a pressure cooker situation, they are making all of their decisions based on emotion. Logic is out the window. They are just going with what their gut says. And those decisions are likely to be incorrect or likely to get them into more trouble, which then pushes the plot forward.
And I'm going to
use, go ahead.
I'm going to use an example
to
juxtapose it, but to show how, here's an example of when the character is hyper logical, and because they're hyper logical, that's what makes the plot work. And that's the Sherlock Holmes series.
Yep. I was gonna say Sherlock Holmes. Yeah.
So it actually juxtaposes out of that. So while Teresa's absolutely right about 99.9%, if you're a House fan, if you love Sherlock Holmes, you're thinking, but what makes them unique and special? And that's the key, isn't it? The character has to be both unique and special and also relatable.
Okay, you are correct. I'm also going to add something to this though. You cannot have a House or Holmes character without the opposite character being there to add the emotional part to it, because otherwise it's 100% logic and that's kind of boring. You need to have the emotional people. You need to have the Watson around to add that level of humanity, but also to add the emotional part too.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons Watson is there is to make the Holmes character bearable.
Yeah.
And to make him likable. He's not likable if you don't have Watson.
Right.
If Watson doesn't like him, that likable.
Yeah. But if Watson doesn't like Holmes, then us as the reader, us as the watcher won't like Holmes. But another point I wanted to give is I really love doing these studies when you look at tragedies, because I think tragedies are one of those places where the character and the plot are so interwoven. The tragedy can't happen without the character and vice versa. So if you think about Oedipus or Hamlet or Death of a Salesman, right? Who the character is makes that tragedy inevitable. Right? Like you can see it. Part of a tragedy is you can see it coming and you as a reader, you as a watcher, know how to prevent it, right? Like that Juliet's going to take the poison, but she's not dead. And you're screaming at Romeo to just wait and wait, like just wait 5 seconds, just talk to the monk, just, a friar, just, do that. But because of who Romeo is,
he's an emotional person, right?
He's impulsive, he's emotional, he can't break the cycle. And that he won't. And so it's inevitable, right? Like this character and the tragedy are so tied. And like I said, whether it's Oedipus, whether it's any of those, I love that kind of thing because it's so perfect. And if you change the main character out, you take Othello and you put him, somewhere else, you put Othello in Romeo and Juliet, right? It's not gonna be a tragedy. it's going to be a completely different story.
Well, in the beginning, we promised to talk about what makes great stories great. And then
Tell
you
us.
go back and pick two of the greatest stories ever told in the human canon. And
Which ones?
you know, and as you're speaking about that, all I can think is I teach those. I love to teach those. And the reason kids still connect with them thousands of years later is because they're based on a flaw they can relate to. My kids know what pride is. They know what it is to want to fight. They know what it is to get their hackles up. And so when Oedipus kills the rude guy at the crossroads, they get it. They feel that. They know what that is. And then as the book goes through, or the play, and shows them the consequences of their actions, it becomes a beautiful way for us to teach and relate to our humanity and expose what it is we need to work on in this very relatable way. And so I think it's very interesting that those are the two that you picked, because I teach Oedipus. My students love Oedipus. It's like one of their favorite novels.
Because human emotion doesn't change. We are all angry. We are all sad. We are all happy. We all fall in love in one way or another, in however way that you define falling in love. We all fall in love, whether it's with a character, with a real person, with a friend, with a sibling, with a parent. We have those connections. And writing a book, telling a story, is trying to put words to emotion, to something that has no words, that has no logic. And we as humans are over and over and over trying to define emotion. So you have to have emotion. Go, Molly.
So I think, we promised at the beginning that we would tell you how do you get that elevation in your book? And what we're saying is you get that by actually making the reader connect and feel with your characters, because the plot works in a way that challenges your characters and it challenges your readers to explore something in themselves, whether it's romance, tragedy. Morgan, what did I miss?
Well, as you were talking, I was like, it makes your readers feel seen.
Yes.
Deep down,
Yes.
what a great story does is it lets your readers be seen. We all have pride. We all are impetuous. We all have panic and want to show our courage the wrong way, maybe. And so the readers feel seen in a way that's intimate, and it creates a connection that can transcend because they know you get them.
Exactly. So if you want to write a great book, find that connection with the emotion.
And if you want more of our tips, you liked this video, we would love for you. It really helps us. We're small creators, to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and watch another video. Tell your friends. Otherwise, get out of here. Go write.
Yeah, go write. Why are you still here? We'll see you around. Take care.
We see you.